Any questions or concerns on the minutes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Arminder can do that.
Thanks, Harm. Can I get a seconder, please? I don't know if someone seconded. Lindsay, did you see a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Todd. All in favor? And that's carried. I don't know if there was any business arising from the minutes. Just one announcement that I have before we get too far into this is that Brad Cross has tendered his resignation from the board. That was effective immediately back in September. So Brad is no longer with us, but I did thank him for his efforts and valued his contributions, and I think he will be missed. He was a good contributor to our efforts. So, but yeah, and I think everybody else has acknowledged back to the municipality that they want to continue on with the BIA, which is great. Thank you for that. So now we can move on to the economic development update from Kim. Kim, if you'd like to go ahead, and good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to bring forward a few items this morning in particular. The first is that the facade program continues, and the deadline for submissions for 2022 will be December 2nd. So there's still time for businesses in the CIP downtown areas to be eligible to apply for facade. And if anyone has questions, they can certainly reach out to the economic development staff, and we'd be happy to assist. One of the requirements is that you need to start a project within 6 months. So although we're getting close to wintry weather, having it in place will be good so that it will be able to be launched or completed in 2023. So definitely room or an opportunity for people to consider that. Set 7, which is our technical and skills training hub, is very busy. We've had just recently completed a very successful forklift training program with Working at Heights and a few other different certificates that were offered through that program, and that just completed. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of other programs that are upcoming. There is a focus on essential skills that we've heard, and our programs that we develop are based on needs that have been identified by employers. And that we have a program coming up in November, as well as Women in Leadership program that's coming in November, and also a supervisory program that we've heard from our employers is something that they'd really value, and we have that program December 1st and 2nd. So new courses are being added all the time. So check out Set 7, so set7.ca regularly, and there is an application process. One of our requirements now that we have received the funding from the province for this program is a bit of additional paperwork. Initially for the first year of the program for our participants. So we just want to let people know that that is a requirement. The courses are free for the first year. And if anyone has questions about that or any of the programs, feel free to reach out to me or to Carmen Reese, the project coordinator, sorry. And then I also wanted to let everyone know that we have hired a new economic development coordinator, Kyle Coffey, started on Monday. He will be taking on the role full-time, from as of Monday. Tiffany has chosen to stay in the communication coordinator role with the municipalities. So it'll be the facade program, Driftscape, other communication and economic development projects will be transitioning to Kyle in the near future, and we'll possibly bring Kyle to the next meeting just to introduce him to everyone, and hopefully you can connect and welcome Kyle. And the final item is that, and I'm just going to touch on it on a high level, was that over the past year, the North Perth Economic Development Advisory Committee had undertaken a priority setting process with the new structure of the advisory committee, which includes sector representatives in the commercial sector, agriculture, manufacturing, green economy, as well as sole entrepreneurships. Those representatives have been working on priorities for economic development and kind of culminated with a session in September where they reviewed all of the priorities that had been identified and have laid out a plan for 2023. A number of the items had been identified in our prior strategic plan, and they will be moving forward. The three key priorities, I'll just touch on them. Two of them involve agriculture, and those will be something that we'll be focusing on. And also one is on affordable and attainable housing. So all very important initiatives to the successful economy of North Perth. We will continue to be addressing other areas that have been identified, such as youth attraction and retention, workforce retention, connectivity for businesses, housing, and other items that had previously been identified under agriculture, business, and innovation in North Perth. So if anyone has questions, I think those are the main areas that I wanted to highlight this morning.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Any questions for Kim this morning? Kyle Coffey, Kim, he's in addition to yourself, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so we've have quite a few economic development priorities that have been identified, and so this will definitely support being able to move forward with those projects.
Okay, not hearing any other questions or comments. Thank you, Kim. Now we can move on to Justin for Perth County update. Good morning, Justin.
Morning, sorry about that. Thank you, and through the chair, happy to deliver the Perth County Economic Development Update. So the first, just a few items I'd like to touch on today. The first one actually is a bit of a shout out to our team. We were awarded, Perth County Economic Development Tourism was awarded an award at the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario Summit last week. The award was for our Discover More Adventures program, which I often reference at these meetings. So Perth County was nominated as a finalist among against some stiff competition from folks like Destination Toronto and Ottawa Tourism, and did come out on top in the innovation category, taking home an Ontario Tourism Resiliency Innovation Award. So I wanted to shout out to our team, especially Ashley Lancic, our tourism officer, and also just highlight that the program has so far launched 14 signature experiences and continues to be one of our marquee programs. So again, if there's businesses that are interested in finding more about the program, potentially joining this award-winning program, please do reach out to Ashley at our team. The next thing I'd like to highlight is our digital service squad. So as of Monday, the current round of digital transformation grants application process has closed. So those were the $2,500 grants to help businesses develop and implement a digital transformation plan. That being said, although that we're hopeful that grant program will open up again in the future, but our team remains available to help businesses with all the digital needs. I mention them quite regularly, so I won't go over all the things we can do. But basically, if you have a digital need in your business in Perth County, please do reach out and see if we can be of assistance. I know that right now it's really important to help our businesses get ready for the Christmas season. So if adding online sales is something that your business is looking to add to their mix, please do reach out to our team so we can help you with that as soon as possible and get you prepared for this upcoming Christmas season. And then just in relation to digital Main Street itself, so the digital Main Street website does have a lot of resources that are available. Our team will always help folks get there and get to those resources. But if you're just interested in kind of you work at your own pace, find your own resources, please visit Digital Main Street website, sign up for their e-blast. They've got lots of great resources, links to webinars, all in regards to improving your digital presence. So please do sign up if you're not already subscribed to that newsletter. And again, reach out to our team for any of your digital needs. We have an upcoming event on November 14th. So our Cycle Tourism Summit is scheduled from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Stratford Perth Museum. I've often talked about our cycle tourism strategy project that we've been working on throughout the summer. And this is really the culmination of a number of months of consultation with stakeholders and research from the expert consultant team we have working to help Perth County refine and build out our cycle tourism program. So at the event on the 14th at the Stratford Perth Museum, you can have a chance to see the draft strategy, understand kind of the implementation plan, as well as find out kind of the draft on how you may fit into implementation, how you can contribute to kind of some of those early implementation stages for cycle stakeholders, as well as BIAs, anyone who has a real interest in cycling and cycle tourism. Really opportunity to see the draft strategy and see if there's a role for yourself to play in helping us implement that strategy and really continue to increase the growing cycle tourism program that we have at Perth County. I'll just mention quickly the Stratford Perth Centre for Business, just as kind of an FYI and just a general advertisement for the work that they do. I know they deliver a lot of programming to businesses, business boot camps, workshops. We've got an upcoming networking event, and just wanted to remind our business community that those programs are offered to all businesses across Stratford and Perth County. So please do make use of their services and make sure you're connected with their upcoming programming. My usual PC Connect update. So just wanted to let folks know that there have been some changes that were instituted on routes A, B, and 2. So please do consult the PC Connect website to familiarize yourself with those new changes if they affect yourself or your employees. Just some changes that were made to help improve efficiency of the service and help kind of service those areas with the most demand. And then finally, we're currently working on a community profile refresh program. So this is, you'll see the printed community profiles and also find them on our website and our municipal websites. So with the new census information available, we are updating those profiles and hoping to roll that out in the new year, the new versions. But wanted to just make folks aware that those publications are available on our website, but also if you would like printed copies to give out to new businesses, new residents, or just to anybody who has an interest in finding out more about Perth County and the lower tier municipalities, please do reach out. We can make sure you get some copies of those. We have, again, the current ones, which are kind of coming out of date, but then the new ones in the new year. So just wanted to remind folks of that resource that is available. And I think that rounds out my update, but I welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Any questions for Justin this morning? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you, Justin, again. Moving on to item 9 on the agenda, which is items for discussion. And I think this is where we kick it over to our new BIA coordinator, who I should introduce, Alyssa Kipfer. You can see her up on your screen. Alyssa's been with us for a little while now. She's getting her feet wet and getting up to speed on things. I've had a couple of meetings with her and just talked through the things that were ongoing and things that we were doing and things that we hope to do. And I know she's trying to take it all in and absorb it all. And this is her first foray into her report and telling us what she's been doing. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Alyssa and she can go from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I appreciate that. And just want to say hi to everybody. I was looking forward to this and looking forward to meeting everyone. So I sent out my coordinator's reports. If you had a chance to look over it, that was awesome. I can go over it now. I started September 26th, so kind of within the past month, I've just been orientating myself with the various tasks. reviewing the past year of what Lisa's been doing and the year before that to kind of get understanding of what the whole year looks like at the BIA. I've reviewed the budget and how it's been allocated, as well as meeting with the various advertising individuals. So Blackburn, the Ranch, the Blissful Banner, to get myself familiarized with them, get to know them. I've reviewed the project status of our Christmas decorations, and I've reached out to the decorating committee as that is coming into the season a bit. I also worked on refurbishing our Discover Listable website and updating the information on it, since it was all summer related. So feel free to take a look at that, and feel free to give me any feedback on that as well. I refurbished the Discover Listable profile on Facebook and Instagram, just very briefly, just quick, just kind of freshened it up a little bit. And I sent out one of my first newsletters to all the businesses to inform them on the Deck the Halls event and the Christmas events. So that sort of leads me into the status update of projects that I'm currently working on with the Deck the Halls Town-wide Open House, November 17th, 18th, and 19th. Because I was brought in September, the timeline for getting something like this rolling has felt kind of rushed. What we are doing as the BIA is we're encouraging businesses to take part in offering late hours on the Thursday and Friday from 4 until 7 p.m. We're also encouraging businesses to offer sales and promotions if they're able to, and some are taking that and really going with it. And we're collecting donations from all the different businesses to make up one gift basket that one person will win from Listable. As well, we are working on the Christmas decorations, getting Listable all decorated up for Christmas. We are waiting on decorations to be delivered. They were ordered back in June, and I've been in communication with that business. And yeah, so I'm hoping that those come in soon, and we will likely be pinched to get the decorations all up in time. I would like to move the selfie bench to encourage foot traffic around town, just to keep it moving and to keep the foot traffic going to different areas of our town. That leads me into the concerns and issues, unless there are any questions about the stuff that I've just provided there.
Any questions from the board on the stuff that Alyssa's just noted? Just for the boards, when is the decoration supposed to start, Alyssa? It's November
14th.
14th. Okay. So right after Remembrance Day.
Yes.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Okay. So that leads me into concerns and issues. So first and foremost, with the Deck the Halls Town-wide Open House, I've gotten a sense of division and some frustration from our business community. It's challenging for me coming into this because, yeah, it's all kind of been from issues in the past, and it's been leading up to this point. We kind of have two different groups who have different opinions about how a Deck the Halls Town-wide Open House is supposed to be accomplished. Normally, it was always in the weekend leading up to the Christmas parade, kind of to combine all of our Christmas efforts together. And that also happens to be Black Friday. But some businesses felt like a Black Friday sales was not an opportunity for an open house, and that's why they pushed for it to be the weekend before. And so that has caused some businesses being frustrated about why this got moved when there was a minority that wanted that to be moved to a different date. So because the date was established before I was brought in, we're going with the 17th, 18th, and 19th. That is the weekend before the parade. I'm looking to follow up with the businesses in the new year to get some feedback on their preferences and to get a better understanding of it as a whole. So we've been getting some good participation from that, actually. We have about 14 to 15 businesses committed to donating something for the gift basket. We have around 6 businesses committed to offering late hours. I'm still reaching out to more, so I'm hoping to get more commitment from that. And then as well as the decorations are a concern and an issue just because we might have a delay in getting all the decorations set up. So just that you're aware of that. Within that as well was a discussion that I was informed about from the municipality that they were having with Lisa earlier this year about a rainbow Christmas tree to be purchased. It looked like they were working with the BIA to have some funding, and Lisa was looking into applying for a grant to help pay for that. It looks like she did not get the grant. And the municipality has reached out to me again just to ask where we are with that and to maybe include that for our next year's planning. I don't know, Scott, if this is something that we would like to discuss with the board.
Yeah, I guess for transparency, I met with Alyssa yesterday just to kind of prep her for this meeting this morning so she knew what to do and the items to bring up and discuss basically. And there's a few things here that I just wanted to bring up as a follow through from her report. So I'll start with the deck the halls. The intent, I guess, is for the BIA to promote and support that as much as we can, as Alyssa noted. The way I see that happening is through just promotional budgeting, making sure that customers and people in the community know that it's happening. So Alyssa got some pricing for some advertisements in the banner and I think on the radio and stuff as well. Seemed expensive for what we were getting and just what's going to happen. But my general thought on it was that we need to spend the money because if this isn't successful, then it just leads to further frustration in the business community. So the BIA really needs to spend the money and do what we can as best we can to try and make sure that this is successful going forward. And it's going to cost ultimately thousands of dollars, probably a few $1,000s to do some promotional advertising, which does seem like a lot, but my general thought to Alyssa was that if we don't do it and things aren't successful, that we may have the business community pointing back at the BIA that we didn't spend the money we should have to make sure it was a success. With regard to the parade, there was $1,000 allocated towards that for prizes. We're not doing that this year. The parade committee is not offering prizes for the parade. So that $1,000 could be allocated towards promotion for the Deck the Halls, the event. And that's my suggestion out to the board is that we kind of shuffle some money around to make sure that this does happen. But I think I just wanted to table that for all members of the board just to see if there's any feedback and what kind of direction we can give Alyssa on going forward with this. So if anybody has any comments on that, please, now's the time and we can go from there. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think the idea of doing advertising is a good one, Scott. I do see on the financial statement we have a considerable amount of our advertising budget unspent, so I'm really not concerned about that, personally. I'm a little confused over the statement from the downtown merchants. Of course, I'm not a downtown merchant, so maybe I don't know, but Black Friday is an American thing. I'm not sure why we're concerned about that.
It's a good question. If anyone knows, feel free. I think we just, from my understanding, yeah, Canadian businesses offer something not equivalent, but just something to potentially try and keep people in Ontario rather than crossing the border, and kind of piggyback off it as well. But I don't know the extent to that's offered in the core area of Listowel, but yeah, Alyssa's already getting some feedback from various groups in town about what's been promoted and the dates and everything. So, but if everybody's in agreement, I don't know if we need a motion, Lindsay, but maybe we just instruct Alyssa to do what we need to do to try and promote this as best we can and make it as successful as we can given the timelines that we're working with. I see some nods. Okay. So I guess we'll just go with the consensus to do what you need to do, Alyssa, within reason, naturally. But yeah, a couple $1,000s on advertising and stuff like that. There shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and the next topic is the rainbow Christmas tree. And again, I spoke with Alyssa about this yesterday, and I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. When I saw it on her list of things that she was going to talk about, I think it was the first time I'd ever seen it. It wasn't something that I was aware that the board had ever been notified about before. And again, this is just for discussion purposes. I wanted to make sure that the board knew what was going on. my general consensus is that, or my general thought on it is that it perhaps is not something that the BIA wants to get involved in because it's a social related thing. And I'm not sure it fits into our mandate of what the BIA is supposed to be doing. We're here for the businesses. Social related things are better. Again, I'm just saying this, are better left maybe to the town or other groups to take forward and look after. So again, I'm just looking for direction from the board and a consensus from the board. If the board says go ahead and do this, then I think Alyssa will do it naturally. But it's something that caught my eye, and it was the first that I think I'd remembered seeing it at all as part of a discussion. So we need to respond back to the municipality in some way, shape, or form about how we're proceeding with this item. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, that would be appreciated as well. And just go ahead and speak. Don't raise your hand. I can't see everybody.
I assume the rainbow tree is in reference to a LGBTQ.
Yes, I believe so.
So I'm a huge ally. I have a child who's transgender. But I would actually agree with Scott. My concern is yes, it's a social issue, but also if we get decorations to represent one group, how do we say no, or how do we explain to not representing another group? How do we don't have Diwali decorations. We don't have Hanukkah decorations. I think we just stick with traditional Christmas. It's the same kind of thinking for me as when the pride flag wanted to be raised. I just think you have to either have an opportunity for every group or just leave it traditional.
I would agree also. I bet it looks pretty nice, but I think it's beyond our mandate.
I agree that it's beyond our mandate.
Okay, that's 3 members, and the comments that I provided, it appears we're on the same track. And again, to be transparent with the board, I've spoken with Alyssa about this, and we've talked about the mandate of the BIA and what we're here to do. I've been approached in the gap period where we went from Lisa to Alyssa by some other groups too that were looking for funding and some things from the high school and different things. And unfortunately, I just responded back and said no, that we couldn't do the donations and the provide cash or things like that because it was completely outside the mandate of the BIA when I look at the mandate. I know we do have some flexibility and we want to support many things as we can to be successful. But personally, from the chair's perspective, I'm always mindful of our mandate, what our monies are for, what they're gathered from, and who we represent. So if I'm ever off track on that, the board can gladly speak with me about it, but I just want to make sure that we do follow that mandate going forward. So do we have a consensus then that we should respond back about the tree, or how should we proceed on this? Alyssa has been approached on it, so I think we do need to provide a response back to the municipality accordingly.
I would suggest that the board pass a motion for this matter to provide a response back.
Okay. So, no,
Just
go
a
ahead.
clarification, Scott. How did this come about? Did it come from us? Like, is it a top-down sort of thing, or did the business community themselves approach us and ask for this? Because I think that would be a different matter in my mind. As I said, I do believe it's beyond our mandate, but to me, if the business community approached us and said, "Can we have these kind of decorations to support the LGBTQ community?" then I think we would probably say yes, but I don't know that that's what's happened here.
Alyssa, I know you're new, but do you have any, you just probably got an email from the town about it, did you?
Yes, so it was brought up first when I met, in my first few days when I met with Chris Snell, I believe, and Jessica in Strategic Initiatives. And they were just kind of giving me a broad overview of everything that would be in my kind of realm. It was kind of information overload, so I remember hearing that. And then they followed up about maybe a week or two ago about this and wondering where that application process was at. In my reviewing of Lisa's notes, I did not see, I don't remember seeing a lot about this, about where it originated from, if it was something that Lisa had thought of because of somebody from the business community raising it, or if it came from the municipality who then connected with Lisa to go about this. I'm not sure on where it came from.
And maybe the takeaway from this meeting is that we get an answer on that question, Matt. There's no way on earth it could be ordered and here in time for this year anyway. So it's something that we can deal with for 2023. And maybe if we got an answer to that question, we could just quickly table it at the next meeting and have a better understanding if it is a business related request from somebody in the community, or whether it was municipality driven. I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, it's a great question. So why don't we, on that basis, why don't we shelve that one for right now? And if we could just put that back on the agenda for the next meeting or something, and Alyssa, if you could try and get just a little better direction from that from Jessica or Chris, perhaps.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. Perfect. Back to Alyssa, I think that gets you where we were.
Yes. So along with kind of what falls within our BIA mandate, the Remembrance Day banners has been something that's going on in this time right now. Myself, there's a public works individual who's involved in putting them up, as well as the actual person who puts them on the poles. All three of us are new this year to putting them up. And within that, they did not get put in the right locations. We've had multiple complaints from the Legion. They're receiving complaints from their veterans' families. They're very upset about them not being placed in the right spot. This sounds to me like it's an ongoing discussion from 2 years ago. They really want the banners to be located by the cenotaph and then all the way up Elizabeth Street towards the Legion. So it go in front of the hospital all the way down to the Legion. However, there's only hydro poles there to attach them to. And Public Works has said to me that we can't put banners on hydro poles. Now, the Legion argues back that, well, in Atwood, they do. And Atwood's banners are put up by the Lions Club. I have been informed of all of this. Myself, I don't have much sway in how this gets decided. I feel like I am the middle person. I actually received a message from the municipality to follow up with Legion because they wanted to talk to somebody. And I really couldn't provide her much information other than I'm talking with Public Works, but Public Works was talking with the actual person that was putting it up and their higher ups. So I guess I would like to bring up to the board my involvement. If I say to Public Works and the Legion, we don't store the banners at our location. The Legion holds on to the banners and all that. So I don't see how I am important in this. If I'm wrong in that, please let me know. But I guess I'm looking from the board to see if that is something that I just kind of remove myself from and allow Public Works to discuss it with the Legion.
Tammy, your hand's still up, or you wanted to talk on that one?
No, I just forgot. Sorry.
No worries. I guess the involvement, since Alyssa flagged this with me, the involvement for us, I think, is that by the cenotaph on Wallace North, they are using the holders or the banner things that the BIA has, but then going up towards past the hospital, towards the Legion and stuff, we don't have any banner holders in that area already. So it is kind of beyond the BIA. And I think the issue is that the banners were placed in areas where we already had holders, which kind of makes sense. It saves having new ones. It saves the cost of that, but the location naturally wasn't where they should be to satisfy the people from the Legion, which I greatly respect. If they want them for where the families can see them, then that's their directive. But if anybody has any thoughts on this for Alyssa going forward and how the BIA should respond, I think we should stay part of it because they are using some of our so-called infrastructure to support it to a certain extent. But I'm not sure it's the BIA's responsibility to coordinate having these things put on hydro poles and expending efforts and incurring costs really to put a bunch of new banner holders on a street that we typically don't have any banners at all for the remainder of the year. I feel like I'm being very negative this morning, but there was a lot of things that were brought out yesterday to me that we just had to discuss, and I think the board needs to provide some direction on this morning. So if there's any comments on that, please let me know.
Chair Patterson, I agree with your premise. I think that, in fact, perhaps the role that the BIA plays is making available the banner hardware on poles that it has supported over the years, and that perhaps the appropriate message from the BIA to the Legion is that we're happy enough to contribute, and those brackets that you're going to hang your if you want to use them, but beyond the existing set of brackets and hardware that's mounted to the poles, the ultimate responsibility for seeing that the veterans banners are flying in the community and where they are should rest with the Legion, and they should work with the municipality if they need that support. As Alyssa said, in Atwood, the Lions have had sort of a special deal, I guess, with Hydro One and Ontario Hydro before that, to have brackets placed on the poles in Atwood, and I would say that's a special and rare favor, as I've understood it. And the Lions managed the banner program in Atwood, and in this case, even though it may represent more work for the Legion and perhaps even investment in hardware, I think that we should ask them to own that responsibility.
Thank you for that, Todd. That echoes exactly what I was thinking as a response. I appreciate that. If everybody else is, I saw one nod from Carolyn. If there's anybody else who's in support of that response back, Lindsay, should we put a motion to that effect, or would that be appropriate?
I think so, because then we can just send that motion to the Legion and it's more formalized that way.
Okay. And again, I think, Alyssa, I think we should stay involved and maybe be CC'd on stuff or just participate where we can, because it is some of our infrastructure. It's a big term for bracket holders, but yeah, if we could do that, that would be great. So I don't know if anybody wrote down Todd's message, but that if we could make a motion to have that kind of a response put back to the Legion, that's the direction I would suggest. And I think that's what Todd's tabling for us to consider. So I get a mover on that. Got a mover and a seconder. And all in favor? Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's carried. Alyssa, was there anything else on your list?
Yeah, I'll just go over it kind of quickly here. So again, I just want to bring up a concerning issue is the division among our business community, specifically in the downtown core, as that's kind of who I've been hearing from first. We've seen that in the Deck the Halls events. So I see that ultimately affecting our success as a BIA in our efforts and what we're doing. The chamber also agrees with that sentiment and has said that has been an issue for a while now. Any ideas on how to improve that would be greatly appreciated. Yes, so going into that as well, I'd like to use social media a little bit more. I've talked about this with Scott a little bit and my ideas of how to do that. Simply put, I'd like to get more faces out there and to share people's stories, to share our business owners' stories, their why, why they're passionate about their business, and just communicate that to the public. That would be done fairly simply, fairly effectively. Something very simple that we could do to start out is we've got a new business coming in, Zinger Chick. I'd love to go down there and meet them, get them to say their names, who they are, what they offer. And yeah, that's just an example of how I'd like to use our social media a little bit more. Our local business news. So I'm unsure who's going into the old Pollywogs location. I've talked to a couple of different people and they also don't know who's going in there. If anybody knows, feel free to let me know or let us know. Zinger Chick is hoping to open in the new year. They're in the location of the old BK's back room. We have Gord's Furniture and Photo is closing, so that'll be an open commercial space. I believe it's up for sale right now. The Restore has closed. Dollarama Wallace will be closing and moving soon. It's on Wallace Street there. It's going over by Zares, if I'm correct. And then beside Pioneer, on the west end, there's the development of commercial space. Scott had let me know something about that. That is all kind of the local business news that I have. Any questions?
Any questions for Alyssa this morning?
I just think I want to agree with you on the division of businesses. The amount of people, I don't know why, that are coming to the station to find out information on the Christmas event but a lot of sentiment that nobody's working together. There doesn't seem to be a unified mission of what we're accomplishing when we look at towns like Milverton, Mitchell, or some of these towns around us, Palmerston, Harrison. They're trying to compare us to the RBIA to what is accomplished in a lot of those communities. And there seems to be frustration, but it's not all just laying on the board. It does take a community of business people to rally behind an idea, but there seems to be quite a bit of frustration, it seems. And then people now wanting to go in so many different of their own directions, having their own markets or trying to do their own, which is great. We want to encourage that, but then it dilutes what we're trying to do as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's an easy answer for this. I think that the division in the downtown has been something that's been brewing for a long time. I was aware of it for quite a while. And I think what I said to Alyssa yesterday is that there's a general sense of there's some businesses downtown that have been there for 35, 40 years. And they just don't want to play in anyone else's sandbox. They're happy being by themselves. They're happy with their marketing plans. And they just, for lack of a better term, they don't care. They're going to be successful regardless, and they don't want to see the betterment of other businesses and stuff. So I don't know how we overcome that. But Alyssa and I talked about it, and it's something I think we're going to have to regroup with the chamber on and try and see what we can do once we get through this Christmas season, and try and build or gel the downtown core to get some people together and see what we can do in that regard. So I appreciate that, Nick. I think there is some issues. But if anybody comes in or brings things to your attention, if you could pass them along to Alyssa's attention, and maybe we can just keep a database and see how we can try and resolve these things going forward or move forward in a better direction.
And it might be helpful for all members of the BIA to have copies of Alyssa's business card in their possession as well, so that should these matters arise, we can pass over to those who are plaintiff her card and encourage them to connect with her directly to begin remedying the concerns that may be had.
Agreed. Alyssa, do you have business cards? If not, we should make a point of getting that done.
Not yet, but yes, I can add that to my list.
Okay.
I'm apparently out of the loop because I am a downtown business and I had no idea, so I apologize. I did not know about the division, but I just wanted to say to Alyssa, it sounds like she's been met with a lot of negative situations she took on the role, and I hope that she realizes it's only because we're also passionate about our community where maybe those strong opinions come. And I'm sorry she's had to deal with all that, but I hope it doesn't discourage her. She sounds to be pretty level-headed, so I just wanted to commend her on that.
Thank you, Tammy.
Okay, Alyssa, is that it for you then, for right now?
I just have a few more things, if that's all right.
Yep,
So
go ahead.
with the board specific news, so we've talked already about Brad Cross no longer being on our board. There's also a potential new member. Debbie from Divine Wellness Spa has expressed some interest in that, so I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. And as well as there was an idea brought forth about moving back to in-person meetings and to have them within the town at our local restaurants. I see that as being a benefit. It could lead to more positive feedback from our business community, seeing us visually out in front of them.
Okay, so with regard to the new member, yeah, Deb from Divine Wellness Spa has expressed an interest in becoming a board member. We lost Brad, so I think there's room on the board naturally to have as many as we can. My understanding is we need to put forward a motion or a request for council approval of that. So if anyone has any concerns or if we'd like to move ahead with that, I think now's the time to do that.
Mr. Chair, if we might ask the clerk at this time, does the BIA appointment process follow the appointment process of other committees and boards in the community that council has some investment in?
Through the chair, I'm not 100% sure about that answer. I'm just pulling up the terms of reference right now. I'm not sure how previous appointments have been handled by the board.
Obviously, my question, Lindsay, is just with regards to whether this board's term in some way expires like other committees do, or whether it has a privileged position, a different position because of the nature of what it does.
I believe the appointment bylaw that goes to North Perth Council does include BIA members with an expiration date. So the current members do have an expiration date of the end of this month. So they would have to be included on the next appointment bylaw with the term expiration.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, question?
Yeah, I think it does. And so in that context, Mr. Chair, then all members of the BIA board who wish reappointment then should be filing, I guess, their application using the standard process with the clerk for reappointment, and that there will be a bylaw that will list all of the names of those who've consented to participate coming forward to council, to the new council in the imminent future, which means that this applicant could be part of that intake, if you will.
Did we not just do that? I thought that's what I just had to reapply basically and fill out the information for the next council. I thought that's what I just was my
Right, Nick, and so the same opportunity exists for the proprietor of the Divine Wellness Spa.
Yeah, agreed, Todd. I think we're under normal circumstances, if we were in mid-council stream or something,
right,
that the board would have to make a recommendation, go to council would appoint. But I think you're 100% correct, because we're in this transition period now to a new council, that she could just fall under that umbrella. When we're all getting reappointed, that she could just capture in that. So I will ask her to fill out the paperwork to request being on the BIA that all the rest of us have submitted. And hopefully she can be added to the list for consideration by council on, I think it's December 5th. I think that's when it's going forward. So I'll speak with Deb about that, or Alyssa and I can reach out to her and try and get her to do the paperwork associated with that. And that'll capture it and be done. And if anyone knows anyone else who'd like to be on the board, again, by all means, please ask them. Okay, so we don't need a motion on that, but Alyssa and I will reach out to Deb and try and make that happen. Okay. Next item was 2023 events and plans. Go ahead, Alyssa.
So I'm really wanting to, in the new year, get out and meet as many businesses as I can in person. I want to go business to business and just get them familiar with my face, get familiar with their face, and understand their wants and needs. I think that will be very, very helpful for understanding how we can make a better community of business owners, as well as what they're expecting from us as the BIA. I also will be looking into developing the budget and making that presentation for 2023. There have been some things that have been brought up. So bike racks has been identified as an issue that our downtown owners would like to see in front of their restaurants and storefronts. I do have the rainbow Christmas tree involved here, but we've discussed that earlier. So just understanding how to use our budget for the next year will be something that I'll be working on. Also outlining the plans and events for 2023. So Patty Fest is something that looks like will be happening in the springtime. I'm going to be reaching out to the individual who's in charge of that and understanding how that's going on, seeing if it's coming back in full swing or if it's still something smaller. And the Win the Space project, I see that would be something that I could be looking into for the new year. However, it looks like we're likely not doing that because of the unavailable commercial space in our downtown core. With the Win the Space, we do have some money that we could be using, I believe from Libro and from other organizations as well. There was discussion about that being used for art. That is something that I will be looking into in the new year, and maybe the board can discuss that in the new year as well. And then there's the possible development of more events for 2023. So just some examples to get some ideas flowing. It's like farmer's market, something along the lines of like a rib fest, a touch the truck, scarecrow decorating, food trucks in our downtown core, just something along those lines to get some more foot traffic and get some fun events going. It will be something I'll be working on for 2023. I'll also be preparing for the AGM, looking into that and keeping on updating the member directory and hopefully including that on our website to make it more accessible for everybody else as well. So that is everything from me. If there's any comments about the focus and direction for 2023, feel free to bring that up.
Well, for obvious reasons, I would prefer not to have food trucks in the downtown, but that's just my opinion.
And I will say something around farmers market from my experience in Wingham. It takes I wouldn't take on a farmers market. I mean, you can certainly help coordinate it, but that's a really big undertaking. And to ensure that, you're getting all the proper approvals from council and all the other stuff that goes along with the farmers market, it's a lot of work. I'm on the Wingham BIA as well, and one of the gentlemen on that board was in charge of that farmers market, and it's a lot of work on its own. So just be wary and not wary, just be aware of that. If that's something that is a direction we want to take. I know they had a separate committee, a separate group of people that were dealing with the farmers market.
With that being said, I think we kind of need to look at maybe some subcategories or some volunteer groups or reach out to more people if we're wanting to be more active in doing some events like you just mentioned. It can't just fall on the board here, but I think that if we ask for volunteers or come up with a category of committees for specialized, if you got an interest in an artisan market, a farmer's market, or the rib fest, whatever jives with people in the community, then we can reach out and more hands will make things a little easier, but all still ultimately funnels through the board here. And then the last thing, we got off topic about Divine there. Are we wanting to go back to in-person meetings or what is happening there? So I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page with that one as well.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, we skipped right over that. Yeah, I don't know if the suggestion actually came from yourself or who it came from, but having meetings in person and having them in restaurants or in facilities in town. so that we are seen, people know that we're meeting, what we're doing. When Alyssa brought this to my attention yesterday, I just questioned the logistics because that would involve Lindsay coming, Justin, Kim, like it's not just the board members who go out and have the meeting, and it's quite a group of people that attend these. So just the logistics of it was my only question. I like the idea personally of being seen and being out in the public. Potentially having, if we have 6 meetings a year, that those meetings are rotated through different locations to keep it fair and reasonable to everybody. Also potentially spending a little bit of money in our core and supporting some of the businesses as well. I think it's a great idea. The logistics of it troubled me a little bit, but maybe it would go much easier than I think it would, and maybe everybody would like to get out and have a coffee and just do these meetings in person and do them quick. I also don't know how we would do it. We'd almost need like a board table or a larger table and how the function of it would work. But again, these are logistical, technical things. I think it's just the premise of getting back together as in person as people and having the meetings potentially in public rather than in closed door or on this format. So let me know what you think. The next meeting wouldn't be until January, so we could try and figure that out before then. We could also do it as a trial run and see if it works and revert back to this if needed as well. So any thoughts?
Scott, my suggestion actually, I like the idea in general terms. I acknowledge that the logistics are the complexity here. And my suggestion is that we ask Alyssa to prepare a report for the board about how this could be executed in a way that is equitable and that achieves the outcomes that have been talked about.
I think we just have our next meeting at Tammy's place. Would work for me. I would say, and unrelated to that, Alyssa, so when you're preparing next year's budget, and I realize that this year was a bit of a transition year, but I would suggest that when we make plans, we ensure that we don't overreach. We make our plans so that they're doable. And the reason I'm saying that is I look at our financial statement and we're only about 50% spent. As I said, there was reasons for that. But personally, I don't like taxing people to do things and then not doing those things. So, I know there's lots of great plans out there, but they need to be achievable.
It's a good comment, Matt. Let's just take a step back. Did everyone agree on that idea from Todd about doing a report, just the feasibility and how we could actually do in-person meetings at various locations? I think that's something that Alyssa and I could work on and come together and present to the board for the next meeting and then create a schedule for next year. If it's acceptable to the board, would that be a good path forward? In agreement, not agreement?
I think that's a good path.
Okay. Lindsay, do we need some kind of a motion to have a report required?
Yeah, I just have something drafted here that the BIA coordinator be directed to bring a report back to the BIA regarding the logistics of holding in-person meetings at different business locations.
Is everybody okay with that? If so, I need a mover and a seconder. Todd's first, need a seconder. Nick, all in favor? That's carried. And yeah, Matt, just jumping on your comment now, I fully agree. And that's something we'll be working on, I think is all I can leave it as. Alyssa's trying to wrap her head around the budget. The municipality has changed how the budget is actually done, how we track it. I saw the spreadsheets yesterday, or the 2 analysis sheets where one was broken down and now it's lumped into more generalized categories. So Alyssa's trying to dig through those to figure out where monies are and what monies we have to spend and things. So that's ongoing. I know she's working on that. So as she learns her role and figures things out, I'm hopeful we'll come back with a great plan for 2023, so to speak, on where we go with things. Okay. Alyssa, did you need any direction on this social media related items? It's the next topic on the agenda. Or are you good on that?
Yeah, I'm good on that. If anything that I kind of was outlining earlier doesn't sound appropriate, feel free to let me know. But yeah.
Okay. I think we can move on to item 10, which is the council update from our newly re-elected Mayor Todd. Congratulations on your re-election, Todd.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Scott, and to the board. Just a quick summary of some of the things that have happened since our last meeting, which I realized was actually quite some time ago. So to catch up, perhaps most notably, council did make some changes to the street experiment, the one block from Main to Elma of Wallace Street South. We have reverted it to a two-way traffic corridor, and the consequences of that, some of the things that were done remain in place, like the four-way stop at that intersection, but other things have been changed. And of course, we continue to monitor the outcomes. This is one of those you can't please everybody all the time phenomena. Certainly, we've seen a surge in traffic queues in the downtown, and so while for months I was receiving calls saying remove it, now I'm receiving calls saying you were stupid to remove it, and that's a classic example of the challenge of being an elected official. A couple of other things that are noteworthy, perhaps. This may be of interest to labor reliability. North Perth has signed its, or is in the process of signing its first childcare agreement with Stratford. Related to the affordable daycare provisions pursuant to the agreements between Ontario and the federal government. It's a confusing area still. We're still waiting on a number of details and logistics about the program. Everyone is swimming at this point to try to figure it out. But there was a modification made to the contract that we have with Stratford around daycare and childcare services that we provide to allow for the injection of funds from the governments that are responsible for this affordable daycare deal. Certainly, we continue to deal with housing in North Perth, and we received a sort of first strategy from our manager of strategic initiatives, which we endorsed. Kim mentioned the Economic Development Committee's priorities, which were endorsed by council as well. A fundraising campaign has commenced for the new Memorial Arena Park, and if you haven't availed yourself of information about that, please have a look at the website. Hoping it's there, actually. We also, North Perth has been engaged in an employee branding project. It has become increasingly difficult for all of our businesses to recruit and retain quality employees, and North Perth as a corporation is no exception. So there has been a project underway for a little while that council endorsed, and we got to see the first video emerging from that project recently. This is not an isolated work. There will be efforts made to create materials and a toolbox, both between the county and our own work, to shine the halo of our community and the county as great places to live and grow and work, in order to support efforts to recruit and retain. Council also received a report about a project that's been ongoing, a multi-county project related to electric vehicle network charging stations, and Listowel does appear to be on the list for a fast or rapid charger. I think they're called Class 1 chargers, but maybe I've got the numbering system wrong. Lindsay can correct me. And so that work has been endorsed and will continue with hopes that we'll get one of those stations, if you will, in Listowel. We have awarded the tender for the first phase of the Northeast Master Planning Area. That is a very substantial project that will work towards the development of lands in the Northeast, formerly or maybe even currently still called the Moore property. And a lot of that work at the earliest stage relates to drainage and services to construction that has already happened in that neighborhood, and that now needs to be remediated because of problems with movement of water and sewer and all that kind of stuff in that area. We also received the final report from our consultant on the North Perth Agricultural Excellence Project, and as you've heard already, some of the recommendations from that have already been spooned into the Economic Development Advisory Committee's priorities. If you haven't heard about that report or are interested in it, please reach out to Ms. Couch for a copy of it. I think it is an interesting read and frames how North Perth can gently involve itself in initiatives that sort of grow our agricultural base and continue our strong commitment to excellence in all that we do in that area. Council expressed an intent to do something, an update, a revision, and perhaps an improvement around dog kennels and the management of same. Council also received progress reports on the strategic plan, which essentially is expiring with the end of the term, and the next council will be working on a refresh of the strategic plan as an early objective. We did constitute our 2023 budget committee for the municipality. Councillor Andreessen will be the chair and Councillor Anstedt will be the vice chair. And that's relevant, of course, to this group because you will approach council and the budget chair and vice chair will have some input, obviously, on what you bring forward. Council expressed a little bit of irritability about the performance of MPAC and its work in North Perth. MPAC, of course, is the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. It's essentially at arm's length from the province, but it does the province's bidding in assessing real estate value. And from their work, we derive how tax rates work in the community and using the values that MPAC assesses. They seem to be behind, a little slow. Again, you can check in on Council's progress if you're interested in that subject. But Council has sent a letter expressing some dismay at their speed and their inability to close a gap that exists in new properties being appropriately assessed so they can be taxed. Council also approved a significant project to replace water meters throughout the municipality. We're moving to a smart meter system, and it was a significant investment, certainly, but it should lead to a whole bunch of benefits. These things, of course, are internet connected and communicate data so that if there's unusual water use, there's fairly immediate spotting of same by the software and technology, and we can reach out to property owners to let them know that there's a problem in a very proactive way, which I think is great. In terms of planning, you've heard a little bit about the drive-through restaurant that has been proposed at Pioneer Gas Bar site. A zoning bylaw amendment was approved for that purpose. The devil will be in the details. OPA 206 is a significant development that has been passed now by both the local council with a recommendation to Perth County Council, which is the authority here. And OPA 206 will create a mixed commercial residential development of high density opposite the Walmart and Zehrs Plaza in Listowel and just immediately south of the Pioneer Gas Bar. So that's a project that's in the works. Part of the excitement of that project from my personal perspective is that it includes a commitment to a certain number of units, 15% minimum as affordable housing units in accord with definitions that are used for such purpose. Council also decided that it would reject continuing endorsement of the Lunor subdivision, which has been on the books for a very long time. Perhaps Scott knows more about how long that is than I do, but it has been around for a long time, and relative lack of progress, I think, motivated council to say we don't wish to see this continue. Modern planning considerations factor into that. I don't think that file's dead by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that happened in the last little bit. And we did endorse moving forward with organic composting options with the Blue Water Recycling Association. They are talking about bringing a green box program into their mix, and we endorsed continuing to pursue that with them to see how that could be added to the mix of services in North Perth. Finally, North Perth Council, and this affects, I believe, this board too. Lindsay could correct me if I'm wrong, but suspended our COVID-19 policy that's been in place. Largely, the provisions of that were about vaccination requirements, and we've come to a point of perhaps grace when you look at this, to the point where we've suspended that policy, and it is no longer influencing appointments to committees and boards and members of council. So I'd be happy to take any questions about our work over the last 4 or 5 months.
Sorry. Thank you, Todd. Any questions for Todd this morning? Not hearing any or seeing any. We can move on to the next item on the agenda. I don't believe we had any correspondence that's been submitted, so we can skip over that. Any other business that the board wishes to discuss this morning? I think we've captured the big items that Alyssa brought to our attention. Okay. Then that being said, with nothing else on the agenda this morning, do we have a motion to adjourn? See it from Matt, see it from Nick. Thank you everyone for their time this morning. All in favor?